Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can build this n8n workflow, which allows you to automate your whole LinkedIn post creation. When we built this agent, it's going to allow us to write the text for our LinkedIn posts and also generate an image which matches the text that it's going to create. This can automate and save you loads of time for your LinkedIn process, especially if this is something you have to do on a daily or weekly basis. So jumping into the build, I'm just going to show you quickly how it works when we've actually fully built this and it's all ready to go. So I've written in here for my agent to write me a post on AI agents and how they can be useful to small businesses. Now, I'm going to show you when I get into the prompt, but this is tailored for my specific business, Inovio, and it's tailored to how I want to write posts for my business. But obviously, my business is about AI. If your business is about some other different topic, then you need to tailor your prompt accordingly. But we'll go fully into the prompt and show how we can edit this and where we need to edit this for your specific business. So I've gone ahead and hit run on this, and we're just going to give this a few moments to go through the whole process. And you're going to see that within about 30 seconds, we're going to have a LinkedIn post up on my LinkedIn, which is viewable to anyone to see. Okay, amazing. So it should have gone through the whole workflow now. We should expect to have a couple of outputs from this. So we should expect to see something on our LinkedIn, a post with some text and an image. And we've also got a Google Sheets node in here. So we should have some updates to our Google Sheets. So let's go and check the Google Sheets first. And as we can see, we've got our updates in here with our topic, what the text is, and we've also got our image, which has been uploaded here as well. So go ahead onto the LinkedIn page, see if we can see anything there as well. And perfect, there we go. We've got our posts, which has got the text here. It's even got a hashtag in there as well, and it's generated an image for that. Amazing. So looks like the workflow's all gone through. Okay, so let's jump into how we can actually build this all from scratch. Okay, so the first trigger that we're going to want to add, the first step, is going to be a chat trigger. So just type in chat here and then hit the chat trigger button. And we don't want to make this publicly available yet. If you want to put this into production, you're going to need to, but we can just leave it as that for now. This is where we're going to be what we type to the AI agent of what it is that we actually want it to make. So that's going to be our first node. Then the next one we want to put in is our AI agent. So this was actually going to do all the thinking and produce the output that we want. So we're going to put our AI agent in here. We're going to leave this as connected to chat trigger node. That's all fine. And make sure you tick the required specific output format because it's actually going to be really important for how we want our output to come out as. We're going to want 3 different outputs, and I'm going to explain that shortly. Now, as we've just ticked the require specific output format, we're going to go ahead and also add an output parser here. So we're going to hit add here, and then we're going to hit structured output parser. And here is where we're going to give an example to our AI agent for how we want our output to be. So it's given us a default here of some examples for output, but I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste in here the output structure that I actually want for this application. So we're going to have 3 different outputs. We're going to have a post topic one, which is what the post is all about, the description, what the text is actually going to be in our LinkedIn post, and then the image prompt for our Google Gemini model when we want to make the image. So these are 3 different outputs that we're going to want, and these are examples for the AI agent that it can use to reference to create a good output, basically. Now, once we've added that, we can go ahead and add our brain here. This isn't actually too important what you add, but I'm just going to add an open AI model just for ease sake. But feel free to check out other models like Claude or Gemini, whichever you prefer, really. Claude is probably a good option here, but we'll just leave it as open AI for now. It's not too important. So that's going to be our brain. And then we want to add some simple memory here. This isn't too important as there's only one chat that we're going to be sending something off. And we're not going to be going back and forth with the agent too typically unless the input that we give the agent isn't great. So we'll just leave this as 5 as well. And that is pretty much everything we're going to need for our AI agent, which needs to jump into the prompt now. So for every agent, we have 2 prompts. We have one that comes from the user's message. So this is from our chat input, which we can just leave here. And the other is going to be the system prompt. So we're going to hit add option, system message, and we're going to paste in here the prompts that I've already written up for this agent. As usual, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button and fill out the Google form and the subscription, and I'll send over this whole template to you so you don't have to write this from scratch. So I've gone ahead and pasted the prompt here in here that we're going to use. I'm just going to hit expression so we can open this up and see in its full form. But as with most prompts, we've got a pretty basic structure here. So we've got the role of what we want this AI agent to be doing. And I've instructed that I want it to be about educational LinkedIn posts. So I've been quite specific about even the type of post I want it to be doing. Who its audience is here, the tone that it's going to be using, the content pillar. So this is for me really, there's kind of 4 strategies I'm going to be using with our content generation. And the second pillar is going to be education. It's like teaching businesses about AI and how they can use it. But again, this can be different for different types of posts you want to do. If you want to have more salesy posts or more educational posts, this is completely up to you. Then we're going to move on to the task instructions here. Some more details about how the post is going to be specifically. So how long it's going to be, the hook, the body, a call to action, things like that. We then go on ahead and copied an example output of actually what we want. So it's got a nice little hook here, a body, and then it's got a call to action here. So for them to message us on LinkedIn. Now, the next part of our prompt is going to be the part where we tell the model to generate a corresponding prompt for our Gemini tool. So our Gemini tool is going to be what generates the image for our LinkedIn post. So we need to make sure this prompt is really good so it generates a good corresponding image. So you can go ahead and copy this here. It's got the style guidelines, how and clear details on how we want to generate this image. And then finally, at the bottom, we've actually got the output format, which is probably just a bit of an extra. We don't actually need it because we've already given an structured output parser. But this is, just for good measure, really. Then once you've copied in your prompt, we can go on to the next part of our workflow. So we can leave this as fixed, as there's no variables in here. That's pretty much our AI agent done. Now, the next part that we're going to be adding after our AI agent is a HTTP request. So I'm going to go ahead and add that module in here. And we're going to be making a post request. Now, the URL that we're going to be putting in here is to an application called Kia AI. And it's basically where you can make loads of different API requests to different image and video generation platforms. For us, it's going to be to Gemini, because that's probably the best image creation out there at the minute, better than ChatGPT by far. And yeah, this platform allows us to create those API calls. So if we go over to the platform, this is Kia API. It's really easy to sign up, especially if you've got a Google account. And you can see I've got loads of different APIs on here. Video generation, image generation, music generation, things like that. So we're going to want to create an account here, and then we want to get an image generation API. So we're going to hit the get API key here. And you already have a default key. I've gone ahead and created another one here. Just so it's clear where all my API usage is going. And I probably recommend you do the same thing. So just to hit create new key to do that. Then once you've created your API key, we're going to hit the models market button here. And we want to go to the text to image section. And we want to use the Nano Banana Pro model. So we're going to click on this here. And it's going to open up all the API documentation that we need. So I'm going to hit API. And what we want to do is the first one, which is going to be create a task, so post. So this is going to be our endpoint here. Now, a really quick way to just copy an HTTP request instead of, going back and forth and seeing what parameters we need. We can actually just scroll down to the example section, and we're going to click on the call request. And this has got all the information we need. So it's got the HTTP URL, and it's got all the headers and the body and everything that we need here. So we're just going to click copy here, and we're going to go back to our n8n workflow. And then we're going to hit on the import code button here. We're just going to paste in all that code that we had. So we're going to hit import. And here is where we can put in all the relevant information for our specific account. So we're going to just put our API key in here. So remove that and then place your API key in there. We're going to keep the model the same. So we're still going to be using Nano Banana Pro. Callback URL, we actually don't need this. We can remove this. Take that out. We're going to be keeping the rest. So we've got input here, and then we've got our prompts, which we're going to replace with our prompt that we're going to get from our AI agent. So I'm actually going to remove this bit for now, and we're going to replace this with what we get out from our AI agent. So I'm going to change this to an expression. We can also change the resolution here. So we can change this to 4K as well, I believe. There's a few different options here. It's best to look at the API documentation for all that information. We can also change this output format to a JPEG if we want, but I'm just going to leave it as PNG. And we can keep the rest of this pretty much the same. So to get the prompt from our AI agent that we want to put in here, I'm actually going to go and run the steps before so we can get that to drag and drop in. So let's do that quickly. We're going to hit save, and then we're going to click on here to get that output. So I'm just going to put an AI agent just to get an output. It doesn't really matter. Great, now we've got that output, so we can go back to our HTTP module and we can see we've got things we can drag and drop here. Cool. So we're going to go to prompts, make sure our cursor's in the right place, and you can see we've got three outputs here. So we've got the post topic, which is going to come in handy later. We're going to have the LinkedIn post. This is going to be the text that we're going to put in our LinkedIn post, and the image prompt. This is what we want to drag and drop into this part. Cool, that's all done. So if we actually open this up in Expression, you can see it's filled out that prompt with the text that the agent has generated. Now that is that HTTP module done. Remember to put your API key in here, and that will connect it to your account. Now the next part of this workflow, we actually want to put in a wait module. So we're going to wait for the image to be generated, which usually takes maybe 15 to 20 seconds. So we're just going to leave this as a 5-second increment. And the next part is we want to get that image from Kia. So add that module in there. And this is going to be a GET request this time. I'm going to go back over to our Kia documentation. And this time I'm going to go over to the query task, which hit that one there. And the same thing, we're going to scroll down to the example. Sorry, it's at the top actually. I'm going to copy this curl URL again. Then we want to go back over to our n8n workflow and go to the curl command here. And we want to paste that curl command in. I'm going to hit import. Now, we want to keep most of this the same, but what we do want to replace is the value here. So run your HTTP request that we had just before. That is this one here. And then you'll be able to drag and drop the task ID into this part here. So we're going to get that from the data part here and just drag and drop that into there. And that's going to be the task ID for that image that we've just generated. And then again, we want to replace this with our API key. So go ahead and copy that one in that we generated earlier. And that's pretty much that HTTP request module done. Now the next module we want to add is a switch module. So we're going to hit switch in here, add it. And there's 3 different routing rules that we want to add. So we're going to make sure to add 3 here. So 2, 3. And this is going to be for if the image has been generated, if it's still generating, or if it's failed. So as I mentioned at the start, generating images actually takes a few seconds, so it's not instantaneous. So we need to check every 5 seconds or so if this is done. So the first value that we want to put in here is if the image is generated and is ready to be used to carry on in our workflow. So how we find that out is we're going to look at the state value here. So this is where it says, it will say success or still generating or failed. So we're going to drag and drop that into here. And we want to put the value 2 as success. Now make sure this is spelled correctly. This is going to be important. We're going to rename this output to be called success. And now we have our next one. So if it's still generating, again, we're going to be dragging our state over. I'm going to be call this waiting. Okay, again, we're going to rename the output and we're going to call this still generating, or you can call this whatever you want. It's just for your workflow. It's not going to affect any of the outputs. And then the third one, again, we're going to be dragging our state over, and this is going to be if it's failed. So this is called fail. So this is what this would be called in this state part here if it had failed. Again, we're going to be renaming this output and we're going to call that failed. And that is that whole module pretty much done. So we can hop out of that and you can see we've got 3 different outputs here. Now what we want to do is that we want to make this part run again if it's still generating. So we're going to check if it's generated, and if it hasn't, we're going to go back, wait another 5 seconds, check again, it's still generating, and we're just going to carry on in that loop until it has been successful, and then we're going to go on to the next part of our workflow. So if it's still generating here, we're going to drag this node over and put this into our wait module. Now, once we've got our image and this HTTP request has been a success, we can actually go to our next module after the switch one. And this is where we're going to pass our image URL. So if you remember at the start of the video, we had the URL that we got, which is in our Google Sheets, and that is the URL that contains the image that we have. But the output we actually get from our HTTP request here isn't a nice, simple URL. It comes in a JSON format. So if I go to the output here, you can see the output is in a JSON body. It has a result URL, and then it has the actual URL we want over here. So we want to actually pass and get rid of all this extra bit on the outside, and all we want to have is this link over here that we want to download the image from. So we want to add a parsing node here. So we're going to add in a manual module where we're going to edit the fields. And I'm just going to call this parse image URL. I haven't actually named the other modules in this workflow so far, but you can do. Now we're just going to hit add field here on the parsing module. And we're just going to call this image as the output. And the code we actually want to put into this value box here is going to be this JSON code here. So go ahead and copy this into your workflow. And this is going to pass the data that we're going to get from that URL from the second HTTP request here. And it's going to get rid of this result URL and everything. And it's going to make it a nice, clean, simple text output. And that is everything we actually need from this module here. So we can move on to the next module. And that's where we're gonna make another HTTP request. The HTTP requests are flying everywhere here. So we're gonna make another one which is gonna allow us to download the image from the URL that we've got. Make sure to actually run this module here. Just click run, and it will run through these steps here, and you'll be able to actually get the outputs from this, which we're going to need in our next module. If there's any parts in this workflow where you're not seeing the outputs here that you can just drag and drop, it's a lot of the time going to be because you haven't run those modules yet, and there is no output that's been generated. So just to make sure to run those, and you're going to get an error overall as the workflow is not finished, but you're going to get the outputs that you can drag and drop in. So run this part here so we can get the outputs from this parsing images module. I'm going to go into our HTTP request module. Now the URL we want is the output that we just got from our previous module. So we're going to drag and drop that into there. And that is everything we actually need from this module. It's a really simple HTTP module. And that's going to download the image that we want. We've actually got all the parts from our workflow here that we need to make a LinkedIn post. We've got the text output that we got from our AI agent. We've gone ahead and downloaded the image in this second module. So we now just really need to put it all together. So we're going to add our LinkedIn module here. Now, the LinkedIn module is actually pretty limited in n8n, and the only thing you can do is create a post, which is pretty rubbish at the moment. I don't know if that's a n8n flaw or if that's a LinkedIn API flaw. That's up for someone else to let me know in the comments, maybe. We're going to go ahead and hit create a post here. Now, it's pretty simple to connect to your LinkedIn account. You just want to create a new credential here. I'm not going to go through that whole process, but it's pretty simple if you've got a Google account. We're going to leave this as post, but it's the only thing we can do. And the operation is create. And now you can leave this as a personal organization, but I'm just going to show you the organization route, as that's kind of the example that I've been showing in this video. So I'm going to put it as organization here, and the URL you're actually going to get from your organization, you can find in the URL when you go onto your LinkedIn page. So if you go onto your LinkedIn page, you can't see it in here because it's been cut off on my screen, but in the URL, it'll go linkedin.com/company/ and then that number is the unique number that you need to put into that n8n box. So copy that and then go back over to your n8n workflow. I'm going to paste that number into here, and the text that we want to put into our LinkedIn post is what we got from our AI agent. So it's this text here. So I'm going to drag and drop that into there. And then this is the media categories where we can choose if we have an image to our post or not. In this tutorial, I've been showing you to add an image, but again, you can just have it as pure text if you want. I'm going to show the image example here. And here is where we have the binary field, which is actually going to be what is contained in our image, which is just downloaded from a HTTP request. This is actually one of the times that we're not going to need to run this workflow again to get the output here. It's going to just refer to the data that we're going to get from a binary output from our HTTP request. Most of our workflow done. That's all the LinkedIn post done. We're now just going to add a final module at the end so that we note all of this down into a Google Sheets. So I'm going to add a Google Sheets module here, and it's going to be append or update a row in our sheet. Again, connect your Google Sheets account. Leave this as a sheet within document, and then you want to select the document that you want here. So mine's called LinkedIn Post Automation, and the sheet is just called LinkedIn Education Post. So if we go over to the Google Sheets, it's just a really simple table here where we've got a topic, a description, and an image. Make this in literally a few seconds, and then once you've done that, go back over to n8n workflow so you can connect all those fields up together. We're going to select the column to match one to be the topic. And then having these three outputs, this is why we actually wanted one of those output parsers from our AI agent right at the start. So when we had the post topic, this is why we wanted that, so we can drag and drop this into here for our Google Sheets. The description is going to be the LinkedIn post. and the image is going to be the URL of the image where we downloaded it from. So we can drag and drop that there. And now that's pretty much everything that we need for this whole workflow. So let's go ahead and run it and see if it works properly. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to type in something that I want it to generate. So a description here. Obviously, if your LinkedIn post, you want to give something that's a bit more accurate and descriptive of what you really want, just for testing purposes. So hit send on that, and let's hopefully see this work in action. But it seems it's stops in the middle here. So why has that happened? I think that might have just been because we didn't run the whole workflow before. So I've just gone ahead and ran that individually. Hopefully the rest of this workflow should work correctly. So we're going to head and run that again. Let me just copy this. And we're going to try that again. It's gone through all perfectly this time, and all of the modules have got a tick by them. So let's go and check what this post looks like, and also check our Google Sheets. I'm going to refresh this page. And we're going to see what this looks like. Cool, it's generated a pretty cool image here. Got a nice hook of, to engage the client or whoever's doing the LinkedIn post. A bit of body here, and then it's got a nice call to action. Pretty good image. And yeah, that works out pretty well. So let's go to our Google Sheets. And amazing, we can see it's also updated on here. It's got the description, it's got a topic, it's also got an image that we've used in our workflow. So that's a quick stop of how we can automate this whole LinkedIn post creation process, which can be quite a lengthy and time consuming process. If you're a business and you think it to be something that would be really useful for you, go ahead to my website and fill out the form, and we can start on finding out how this could be actually used in your business to save you some time. If you're a developer, hopefully you found this really useful and you can implement this for yourself or for any clients that you do this work for. If you found this video useful, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.